Have you ever seen a girl sacrifice her soul just to survive? Priscillia, once a pampered daughter of wealth, now stood at the mercy of the streets, carrying water on her head and hope in her heart. But when a black SUV stopped beside her one hot afternoon in Yaba, her life twisted into a nightmare disguised as a dream. What kind of hunger drives a girl to kneel before a billionaire? Was it desperation, or something darker? What price did she pay for comfort? Before you judge her, listen to her story. The truth will leave you speechless and haunted. The rain didn't fall the day her parents died. The sky was dry and yellow, the way harmattan often stains the air with dust and silence.
Priscillia was 17.
She waited at home with her younger siblings, humming an old church song her mother used to sing on Sundays. She didn't know that peace was saying its final goodbye. That night, 2 knocks on the door changed everything.
2 men.
2 solemn faces. 2 lifeless words. Accident.
Dead.
And just like that, the light in her world blew out forever. They were returning from church, a quiet evening service that started with hymns and ended in tragedy. A trailer with no brakes. A scream no one heard. Priscillia's mother and father never made it home. And what followed was not mourning, but madness. The uncles arrived with eyes that dripped crocodile tears and pockets that grew heavier with greed. In less than a week, the cars, lands, and money disappeared. They said, "You are children. What do you know about managing wealth?" They left behind empty cupboards, unpaid bills, and 4 mouths too young to understand betrayal. Priscillia stared at the family house, their mansion in Acadia, as men she once called uncle carried away chairs, televisions, and even her father's framed certificates. Her youngest sibling, Eno, cried for cereal, but there was none. The fridge was empty. The tap had stopped running. She wanted to scream, to fight, to beg. But it was absolutely beyond what she can fight for. She was no longer a daughter of comfort. She had become a child of survival. And survival wears no perfume. It smells like sweat, fear, and dreams broken into pieces you can't afford to glue. Not quite long, they were moved to a small boys' quarters in Bariga, 1 room, 1 bed, for lives. It belonged to a distant cousin who said they could stay for a while. The ceiling leaked. The walls peeled, and rats danced like landlords across the floor. Priscillia, who had never washed her own clothes before, was now hand-washing 4 sets daily in cold, brown water. She walked long distances to fetch water, to buy Gary, to hustle transport fare. The scent of air fresheners was replaced by the smell of kerosene and hunger. The transformation was not slow, it was cruel. She got admission into Yaba before the death of her parents. The joy was short-lived. No school fees. No textbooks. No allowance. Still, she insisted and determined to continue. She borrowed clothes, wore shoes with tired soles, and read borrowed notes under streetlights. Her classmates joked about her clothes. She could barely eat once a day, sometimes none. Her body slimmed down, but her mind grew sharper. She was no longer the soft girl with painted nails. She had become a storm with a face. A girl who knew what it meant to wake up with nothing but still push forward because 3 younger ones looked up to her. Priscillia began hawking. At first, she sold sachet water, pure water in blue nylon bags. Later, she added bottles to the tray on her head. In the heat of Lagos traffic, she weaved between cars, shouting with a voice that once recited hymns. Cold water, bottle water, cold pure water. Sweat rolled down her back like hot tears.
Her palms blistered.
Her feet toughened. Some men tried to touch her. Others mocked her. But she kept walking, kept selling, kept surviving. Because suffering had no mercy. And school wouldn't wait. And children at home would cry if she returned with empty hands. At a time, her youngest brother fell sick. The hospital demanded deposits they didn't have. She sold her phone. She borrowed from neighbors. She even missed school for weeks. But still no one to help, and life seems not getting better anytime soon. Some nights, She wished her parents had taken her with them. Death seemed softer than this grinding. But she remembered the eyes of her siblings and shook the thought off like dust. She hadn't come this far to break. She was fire, burning slowly. And one day, she would rise. Or so she hoped. One day, as she sells pure water in the Yaba market, something strange happened. The sun in Yaba that day was ruthless. It pressed down on the roads like an iron on wet cloth, flattening even the will to breathe. Priscillia's neck ached from balancing the tray of sachet and bottled water on her head, and her lips cracked under the weight of too many pleas by cold water calls. Cars honked, conductors yelled, and fumes from Danfo's wrapped the air like smoke from an ancestral shrine. But her eyes were sharp. Sharp enough to see when a man in a sleek black SUV waved at her from the roadside. She walked toward him slowly, not expecting much. Rich men in big cars often teased, laughed, or bargained over a bottle of water like it was gold. But when she approached the tinted window, something shifted. The glass rolled down smoothly, revealing a man in his mid-50s. Thick gold chain, white native shining like moonlight, skin the color of old bronze. The man's eyes didn't blink. They roamed, slowly, possessively, over her face, her neck, her tired shoulders. She felt naked, yet she smiled. Business was business. "Cold bottle or sachet, sir?" she asked, already reaching for the tray. He didn't answer. Not right away. He kept staring. Then, with a tone as smooth as butter, he said, "Come closer, my daughter." The words were sweet, but something about them made her skin itch. Still, she leaned in, the Lagos heat and hunger clouding her instincts. "You are too fine to be selling water," he continued, voice laced with something unspoken. "What are you doing on these streets?" She gave a half-smile, hoping he would just buy the water and let her go. But he leaned back, unlocked the door, and said words that made her heart freeze. "Enter." She froze for a second. Time stood still. The tray in her hand suddenly weighed 100 kilograms. Her eyes scanned the SUV's interior, clean leather seats, untouched dashboard, air freshener that smelled like Dubai. She could see the back seat, empty and inviting. The door was wide open, and her thoughts spun like a whirlwind. What if I enter and he drives off? What if he helps me? What if this is my chance? In that moment, Priscillia remembered her unpaid school fees, her brother's medicine, her cracked slippers. And without knowing why, she stepped in and shut the door behind her. The SUV purred to life and slipped into the road like a crocodile into a river. Inside, cold air kissed her face. She closed her eyes for a moment and let herself feel something she hadn't felt in months. Comfort. The man introduced himself as Chief Donald, a businessman with estates in Lekki and Abuja. "I help people like you," he said. "You don't deserve to suffer. You're too beautiful for that." His words were syrup, sweet and sticky. She wanted to believe them. She needed to. Because life had taught her that opportunities didn't knock, they rolled up in black SUVs. They drove in silence for 20 minutes. No words. Just her fingers playing with the edge of her skirt and the gentle hum of the engine. She wanted to ask where they were going, but her mouth refused to move. When the SUV turned into a wide compound with a gate taller than a coconut tree, her eyes widened. The house was not just big. It was the kind of mansion you see in movies. White marble, tall pillars, and grass trimmed like a palace. A house where even ghosts would wear suits. She stepped out slowly, mouth slightly open. She had lived in a mansion before, but this was different. Her parents' house was warm, full of laughter and love. This one was cold. Elegant. Empty. Chief Donald led her inside. Everything sparkled. The tiles could blind. Chandeliers hung like diamonds frozen in time. She saw servants, real ones, moving around without making a sound. There were cameras, statues, a painting of the chief in a lion's skin robe. Priscillia didn't say a word. She was drinking it all in. Maybe, she thought, this is the door I've been praying for. Maybe my suffering has finally come to an end. He offered her food. Fried rice, chicken, salad, delicacies she hadn't seen since her parents died. She ate like someone in a dream, forgetting for a moment where she was. She was fed and safe. Her stomach full, her eyelids heavy. He showed her to a guest room. Soft bed, clean sheets, AC humming like lullaby. She lay down, and for a few hours, she slept like a child. But a moment was coming. And that moment will be a shocking moment. After a few hours, a knock came. Not loud. Just 2 gentle taps. A maid stood outside with a message. "Chief wants to see you." Her heart skipped. She wrapped herself in the borrowed robe and followed the corridor, barefoot. She didn't know where she was going, but her feet moved like they had made a deal with fate. She reached a door at the far end, bigger than the others, darker too. The maid opened it for her, then walked away without looking back. Priscillia stepped inside, and what she saw turned the air in her lungs into knives. Chief Donald was standing in the middle of the room, completely naked, gold rings on every finger, chains on his neck, but not a single thread of cloth on his body. Her eyes widened. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. She turned to run. The door slammed behind her.
Locked. No handel. No escape.
She was trapped. The air smelled different now, thick, heavy, and dark. Her body trembled. And then, with a voice like thunder wrapped in honey, he spoke. $1 million. That's what I'll give you.
Just suck my thing.
$1 million. And your life will never be the same. She stood frozen. Her mind raced. This isn't real. This isn't happening. But it was. Her thoughts were a storm. $1 million. Enough to change her life. To finish school. To feed her siblings. To buy her dignity back. But the price? Her soul.
Her pride.
Her innocence. Her mouth shook. Her knees buckled. And in that dizzy moment of weakness, she remembered the hunger, the suffering, the insults. And slowly, against the screams in her spirit, she knelt. Her hand reached forward, not out of desire, but desperation. The kind of desperation that wraps around you like a rope and tightens. She just obeyed, like a robot, like a ghost wearing a human body. She focused on the money, on the escape from poverty, on the future. She told herself it was just one moment, one act, one price, and then she could rise again. That was the lie she swallowed, the poison she drank. When it was over, she stood up, eyes hollow, lips dry. Chief Donald handed her an envelope, thick, brown, stuffed with cash. She didn't count it.
She didn't speak.
She just left the room, a queen in a palace of silence. As she lay back on the soft guest bed, the money clutched in her hand, her mind went blank. She didn't feel proud, or dirty, or victorious. She felt nothing, just a blank space where her thoughts used to be. But she whispered to herself, "My siblings will eat. I will finish school. This is the price. It's okay." She closed her eyes and let the silence sing her to sleep. Outside, the wind blew. The mansion stood tall. And in the shadows of wealth, something ancient and dangerous smiled. Because what she didn't know was that the real price was just beginning. The days that followed were painted in gold. Priscillia moved into one of Chief Donald's smaller guest houses in Lekki Phase 1, a place with high fences, polished tiles, and a steady hum of luxury.
Her wardrobe changed.
Gone were the hand-me-down skirts and broken slippers. Now, she wore lace and silk. Wigs flowed down her back. Her nails were always done, and her scent trailed her like royalty. She sent money home every week, enough to feed her siblings, pay school fees, and fix the leaking roof in their Bariga room. To them, she was a miracle, a savior, an answered prayer. She returned to Yaba, and this time, she came with presents. Lecturers now knew her name. Classmates who once mocked her now whispered, "She gets sponsor." But she didn't care. Her bag was full of money. Her grades bounced back. Her future felt close enough to touch. Some nights she looked at the mirror and whispered to her reflection, "You did what you had to do. You made it." She was always all smiles by herself. And for a while it worked. The pain became background noise, like a dull hum you learn to ignore. Until it didn't. The first sign was small. A headache that wouldn't go. She took paracetamol. It laughed at her. Then came the fever, hot, cold, then hot again. She brushed it off as stress. But her body knew better. One evening, as she dressed for a dinner event Chief had invited her to, she looked down and saw it, a small red rash near her belly.
Odd.
Angry. Pulsating. She touched it. It stung like betrayal. That night, the pain climbed her spine like a thief. And by morning, her skin began to itch. Scratch.
Burn.
Her heartbeat doubled, and her mouth tasted like rust. She visited a clinic in Lekki. The nurse smiled too politely. The doctors examined her. Blood tests.
Scans.
But no answers. The test found nothing. You're healthy,
They said.
but deep inside her, she's dying. The pain grew worse. The rash spread like spilled oil. Her stomach bloated unnaturally. She vomited water. Then blood. She gradually began to lose weight. Her legs shook when she walked. Her eyes dimmed like bulbs with failing current. She told Chief Donald, and for the first time, his face grew still. He didn't visit. He sent someone else, a cold-looking man in black, who dropped money on her table and said nothing. She was moved to another hospital, then another.
And another.
Every scan brought more confusion. One doctor stared at her files like they were written in tongues. "We don't know what this is," he said. "It's not malaria. It's not cancer. Nothing is coming out." Her million-dollar smile vanished. Fear returned. And it came hungry. She stopped going to school. She stopped posting on social media. Her skin darkened, her lips cracked, and her once glowing body now smelled like sickness. The girl who once walked with pride now crawled through pain. Her siblings cried when they visited. "Auntie, what's wrong with you?" She couldn't answer. One morning, her stomach swelled up like a drum. The rash turned black. A wound opened, without warning, just above her navel. It oozed pus and blood, and something else, something dark and foul. She screamed for help. Nurses rushed in. The room filled with shouting. "Call the head doctor. Get gloves. Is she dying?" Priscillia felt her soul leaving. Not floating, but being dragged out, inch by inch, through that open wound. Her hands shook. Her breath came in short bursts. Her tears burned.
Ass.
The doctors grew desperate. Specialists were called. Priests came. Native healers too. Some said it was a curse. Others said it was spiritual. One old woman screamed, "She has eaten something that eats from the inside." No medication worked. Not even the ones flown in from abroad. She was moved into a private ward, where her screams were muffled behind thick doors. Chief Donald stopped answering her calls. His mansion disappeared behind silence. She realized, too late, that she had been fed to something ancient. Something hidden beneath gold. A devil in white linen. And the worst part? She chose it. Eventually, she stopped eating. The wound refused to close. It pulsed like a second heart. Her skin turned pale. Her voice cracked like old wood. The once beautiful queen of Lekki now lay like a forgotten ghost in a hospital bed no one visited. Her siblings still prayed. Her brother fasted. Her sister lit candles. But nothing worked. The SUV didn't return. The mansion doors stayed shut. Another girl disappeared beneath the layers of Legos. And the city, as always, moved on. And so, the girl who only wanted to survive paid a price she never truly understood. Not every mansion is a blessing. Not every rich man is a helper. And not every opportunity is salvation. Some doors open not to lead you out of suffering, but to lock you deeper inside. Priscillia's story is not just a warning, it's a mirror. A reflection of the quiet desperation too many girls hide behind makeup, lace wigs, and soft smiles. A reminder that poverty is not just hunger, it is vulnerability. And sometimes, vulnerability becomes the most dangerous thing a woman can carry. Let this story be more than drama. Let it be a cry for compassion. A reason to protect, support, and uplift each other. Because when society fails its daughters, the shadows will gladly welcome them. If you were in her shoes, what would you have done? How many Priscillias do you know in your street, your class, your community? And what are we doing to make sure they don't fall into the same trap? Thank you for watching this heartbreaking episode of Candor Stories. If this touched your soul or opened your eyes, please don't leave without liking this video. Subscribe and turn on your notifications so you never miss the next twist in our tales. And remember, every story carries a lesson, every lesson holds a warning, and every warning can save a life.